Review copy provided by WB Interactive. Continuing the series of LEGO-themed superhero games, WB returns with this new entry in their long-running series, only this time they're focusing on the villains. LEGO DC Supervillains feels like if the DC Suicide Squad suddenly became much bigger, following a similar premise with just a much larger selection of characters. So that's it, huh? We're just some sort of LEGO DC supervillain. LEGO DC Supervillain stars you, a custom supervillain who happens to have the power to absorb other powers. Early on in the game, you and Lex Luthor break out of prison and begin to gather up all the DC supervillains. At the same time, the Justice League that was about to stop you suddenly goes missing. In their place are the Earth 3 parallel universe equivalents that call themselves the Justice Syndicate. While everyone else in the city buys their Justice League are just on a mission story, the villains know better. Now in an odd turn of events, it's up to the villains of the DC universe to out the real villains to the rest of the world. The plot setup feels a lot like the recent Suicide Squad movie, only with a much larger variety of characters and a much better execution of the story. With that said, this execution starts and ends strongly, but has a bit of fat in the middle that could have been trimmed to keep the pacing of the story flowing better. The portrayal of the famous cast of DC characters were well delivered, with stellar work done by Mark Hamill as the Joker and Tara Strong as Harley Quinn as prime examples. Overall, the 10+ hour story with multiple endings was mostly entertaining in the same humorous fashion that TT Games' other LEGO games were. However, it should go without saying that this is a series with children in mind. A lot of the jokes here will either turn you off or turn you onto the game, varying if you can handle the child-targeted humor. If you've played a LEGO game in recent years, you'll be familiar with the gameplay in this new entry. Missions switch off between open world areas that act as a hub world and the linear structured levels that are closed off. There's a wide variety of playable characters ranging from well-known to more obscure villains that add up to a total of 160. You can even make your own villain with the pretty fleshed out character creator at the start of the game. You can either build a character from scratch or use some of the presets from the already famous villains available. Even with some of the character assets locked at the start of the game, with a little bit of time and effort, you can create a character that looks pretty much like yourself. Speaking of characters, they will have different abilities that play into the puzzles in the story levels. Killer Frost, for example, can use her ice to put out fires, while Clayface can go into sewers for alternate routes. Levels are designed to use these different types of characters to progress through puzzles. However, there will be routes that aren't accessible right away. This is what the free play missions are for. They let you backtrack to old levels with any characters you choose, letting you look for any hidden collectibles that you may have missed the first time you played a level. These puzzles aren't very challenging though. They consistently have you pressing the same button to activate a villain's special ability. The real puzzle is usually figuring out which character you need to swap to before the game just straight up tells you with portrait art. In that sense, the main story puzzles can be a little bit shallow. Luckily, the extra collectible items like the red brick search can still offer the occasional challenge. Now, even though the abilities of villains can vary, they eventually become categorized into different types of villains, and you'll see those abilities start to blend for a bit of repetition. After all, it's going to be difficult to make 160 completely unique characters. It's most apparent in the combat, where the attacks for each of the characters are essentially the same. You get your melee, medium range, and chargeable long range attack. They may sometimes look different, but they function the same. Like other LEGO games before it, you can still play the campaign with a friend in the local co-op mode. Despite being so simple in terms of gameplay, it certainly lends to the seamless couch co-op that the series is known for. Outside of the structured levels, you can explore the decently sized hub areas of Metropolis and Gotham, just to name a few. They're amusing to explore, especially for fans of the franchises. You can even use this open space to summon vehicles, however that was actually my least favorite feature of the game. Don't get me wrong, I immediately tried to roam around the city with a bike for fun, but the controls just really weren't that great. Handling any vehicles in this game just feels too slippery to actually want to use. Ultimately, the gameplay came off to me as simple and familiar. It's not necessarily a bad thing. The LEGO series has long been a child-friendly series that offers straightforward gameplay and easy-to-follow stories. Despite being focused on villains instead of heroes this time, this game, in terms of other LEGO games before it, is no different. Ever since the LEGO series came to current platforms, I was always really impressed with just how much attention to detail was added to the already simple design of LEGO pieces. Characters have this shine to them, and you can even make out some of the slight texture work on the arms of characters. It adds to that feeling that these are really just toys in a fantasy world. The mixture of real-world effects like rainfall along with the LEGO models just looks beautiful. I played primarily on the PlayStation 4 Pro and found the presentation to be charming. On current generation platforms like the Xbox One and PS4, you can expect 1080p 30fps across the board. On Nintendo Switch, the resolution does drop down to 720p in dock mode and slightly lower in handheld mode. Textures are also simpler on the Nintendo Switch. It becomes more noticeable once you start to compare the different environments. Despite the visual downgrade, the performance at least maintains a mostly solid 30fps throughout the game on Switch. It's completely playable, just a bit fuzzier and simpler looking. Music and audio throughout the game were also well done. The audio design mixes in a bit of real-world ambient sound along with the effects of the LEGO series that comes together to make something great. What's more improved is the music selection. Songs were much more memorable this time around, with specific themes playing for each of the new hero or villain introductions. The real star in the audio department though was, well, the stars. The villains throughout the game are performed by an elite class of voice actors that really do deliver here. Mark Hamill reprises his famous role as the Joker, Tara Strong plays Harley Quinn, and Nolan North comes to play Earth 3 Ultraman. I could go on and list all the talented and well-done performances here, but just to be straightforward and frank, the quality of the performances here is something you'd expect out of a more adult-oriented AAA first-party exclusive, so it's awesome to see performances of this caliber in a more child-friendly game like this. LEGO DC Supervillains continues the trend of the series, providing a wide cast of famous characters to go through a simple but humorous story. Its straightforward gameplay is inviting to just about every age, offering some of the best couch co-op available in 2018. It's still a LEGO game despite being about villains this time, and so if the series wasn't your cup of tea before, this won't change it. However, fans of the series will be sure to enjoy this new entry with the absurd amount of quality put behind it. It may still be a children's game, but like a lot of modern well-written children's cartoons, that doesn't mean it's lower in quality or just for children. I give LEGO DC Supervillains an 8 out of 10. If you found this review helpful, then be sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and share the video with your friends. It helps more people find out about my channel, and I really do appreciate it. Thank you all very much for watching, hope you guys have a great day, and keep on gaming.